Greetings, Earthlings! It is time for the Tuesday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze. Nigga, I can hear you. Will, turn your mic off, nigga. Sorry, my bad.
My bad.
It's all good. No worries, everybody. This is all the perks of doing a live show, which I love and enjoy very much. I'm more in love and enjoying the fact that you all have made a decision to come kick it with your homie tonight. We've got a good show in store for you today. Going to be talking about a couple of things, obviously, of very pertinent interest. The still ongoing, I don't call it a war. I can't even call it a conflict. When one Bama's got a military and the other Bama's got hang gliders, that shit ain't no war. That is a very unbalanced dispute. Let's say that's occurring still there in Gaza, where the humanitarian catastrophe is looming ever closer. We're going to get into some of the details about what's happening there, but I wanted to highlight an action that happened this weekend in Washington D.C., led by Jewish Americans, calling for what? A ceasefire. Calling for what else? The end to the Palestinian genocide. It is so important, everybody, that we push back against this monochromatic narrative that all Americans are standing in support of Israel and people are not supporting Palestine. But most importantly, I think in this very specific context, that not even all Jewish people is not with these shits, man. A lot of Jewish people recognize the injustice and the inhumanity in Zionism. And I want us to get it. And I ain't no Zionist instructor, not even close, but there are some things that popped up that I think is a pertinent interest, I think, to you all and to me as well. So I'd like to get into those a little later. Plus, I want to talk about a story coming out of Maryland. October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and a number of states in recent years have taken deliberate measures to increase the penalties for certain types of domestic violence, but more specifically, I'm talking about strangulation, suffocating somebody, choking them. You'd be surprised in how many states that strangulation is a misdemeanor. But Maryland, in addition to some other states, in recent years have changed those laws, which I think is a step in the right direction. If we're going to do the whole electoral process and participate in the system, getting lawmakers to address the crisis of domestic violence and to make the courts, the injustice system, for whatever that's worth, take it more seriously when it comes to sentencing people who commit these acts against their partners is significant. And there was a story coming out of Maryland that I wanted us to look at and talk about. In the interim, let me say what's going on. So my people, hold on, let me pull up the chat. Thank you, everybody. Come on in here. Give the video a like, a thumbs up. You should become a subscriber to Burn It Down with Kim Brown if you have not done so already. Consider becoming a patron or a channel member or any of the other cool ways that you can support this Black woman-led platform. We certainly appreciate it. All support, big and small, free and material. We will happily take it. Okay, hold on. Let me get in here. I got the stupid video up. I got the wrong video up, of course, because it's me. It could be the right video if it was me and stuff. But I hope everybody had a wonderful and restful weekend. You see, I had to bust out my sweater. If you want to destroy my sweater, whoa, 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 pull this thread as I walk away. As I walk away, watch me unravel. We'll soon be naked, lying on the floor, lying on the floor. I've come undone. Is that a literal song, y'all think, Weezer? Was he talking about his psyche, his psychosis? If you want to pull my sweater, pull this thread as I walk away. Okay, what's going on, everybody? Shout out to What's up? Going up to the good sis Wendy. What's up, Jasmine? Thank you so much for being in here. Chichimata. Good to see you. My son Tyler, Lucretia Williams. Lucretia, I watched the morning show today, sis. You're sounding really, really good. I can tell you're becoming more comfortable. You did an excellent, excellent job on the morning show this morning. Big up to the whole Remix Morning Show crew over there on Black Power Media. Peace to the good brother David Silberg. Good to see you in here, sir. What's up to Holly? Yippanan? Per usual. Appreciate you coming true. Big up to my mods, as always. I don't know if Courtney's in here, but love to Courtney. Always. Shout out to Latif. Always. Shout out to Chuck Diesel when he decides to peek in here. What's up, John Kemper? Good to see you in here. Thank you so much. Infinite content. You good? I was watching the morning show this morning. I seen when they Jackie shouted you out and said that you was going to urgent care. Nick, I hope you're all right, Infinite Content. I was concerned about you when I heard that. So hopefully you're doing better and feeling better. Thanks so much for making the time to come in here, Infinite Content. There go my niece Alicia. Thank you so much, Alicia. Oh, Anna, I'm so sorry. I missed the disability support chat on Saturday. I hope you guys had a good turnout. I meant to text you, Anna. That was totally my bad. The time got away from me. I didn't even realize that it was as late as it was, but I digress. So don't forget, everybody, every second Saturday, we have the disability support chat brought to you by the good sister Anna Hart, Mama Lorraine, and Learn Life Abby. So thank you guys for doing that. All right, y'all, hit the like on the video. We're going to get into this. Oh, Anna, thank you. Wait, what you just say? Anna just sent a message. A message in a YouTube chat. Yeah. Oh, Anna said that we had a great group. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that we had a great support group on Saturday. That is wonderful, wonderful news. Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me know that. Message in a YouTube chat. Yeah. Whoa. Y'all, I saw Sting once. And let me tell you, God damn it. Someone else that I consider to be a music nerd told me that Sting concert was not going to be all that unless Sting was singing police songs. And God damn it. I was grubby. Because them Sting solo joints, he only got a couple joints that really bang. And the joint where he's singing in Arabic. No, he's not singing in Arabic. He had the Arabic singer on the joint. I dream of red, 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 red rain. Well, yeah, that joint jam. But shit. It's the police catalog. Okay. It's the police catalog that makes Stang do what Stang be Stang and do. Anyway, let me go on and get into this program, everybody, because the shit is really real, as though it has not been real for the past several decades in the land of Palestine and Gaza. But after the Hamas response, as of now, what are we? Are we 2 weeks away from that by now? Incredible. Time is just marching on. And what also intends to be marching on is the Israeli forces, which are reportedly amassing at the Gaza border, preparing for a ground invasion. The problem is, we're talking about the Palestinian people are already very weak and depleted because of the blockade, the lack of humanitarian aid that is allowed into Gaza. I've been following a number of not only Palestinian activists who are getting live reports from on the ground in Gaza, but Gaza reportedly only has about 4 days left worth of food. The water supplies are dwindling in Gaza's hospitals, which are already overrun, overflowing with casualties and people who have sustained injuries because of the Israeli bombardments. I read one report, and again, some of this I have to temper with, how can I verify this? You know what I'm saying? But I suppose it's just the sources that are posting it are ones that I find credible. So another credible source on Palestine online talked about how medical staffs in these hospitals are now drinking IV liquids because the water supplies are next to nil. And so, on top of the Palestinian people not being able to leave, not permitted to evacuate, as the state of Israel has suggested they do. Remember, they dropped the leaflets over Palestine telling people, I guess, in the north of the country that they need to, try to be out through this Egyptian border crossing. But there has been a number of problems, snafus, intentional or otherwise, with that. So Palestinians are not able to exit. They cannot get away from the bombardments, right, from the Israeli military. And Israel claims to be strategically trying to pinpoint attacks directly on Hamas. Well, how the fuck you going to do that when Hamas are Palestinians? They right in there in the mix with all the folks, right? So you cannot single out Hamas for military strikes, for attacks, without damaging and outright murdering Palestinian civilians. And Israel is well aware that this is an impossible task. And I don't even know why they faking the funk publicly to the global stage as though this is some shit that they can achieve without maximum civilian casualties. But I digress. So as we come back to what is this looking like stateside? Well, it's looking fucking crazy stateside, as crazy as is going to look in America. I'm sure you guys heard over the weekend the horrific story of the 6-year-old Palestinian boy and his mother being attacked by their white landlord, who stabbed the 6-year-old child to death, gravely injuring the mother, though she is expected to survive. And all I heard all weekend is that America's on high alert. It's on high alert. I'm like, if anything, Muslims in America need to be on high alert, because when the shit kicks off and things are being framed as terrorism, it is Muslims that bear the brunt of that in this country every single time. And the reports of anti-Semitic attacks being up is something that I believe, but I don't believe that it's Muslims committing anti-Semitic attacks in America. Who has been the main perpetrator and driver of anti-Semitism in this country? Did y'all say the crackers? You would be right, okay? It's been white supremacists every single fucking time, with few exceptions, right? Anytime there's a synagogue shot up, it's not the Muslims shooting up the synagogue. Who is it? It's the crackers. It's the white supremacists. So if there are reports of upticks of anti-Semitism, y'all need the authorities, that is, need to be checking around them Proud Boys, need to be checking around them Oath Keepers, need to be checking around them 3%ers, because they are the main ones always driving anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic attacks against Jewish people in this country. It is not Muslims, and it is damn sure not Palestinians. But there has been some lines of demarcation continue to be drawn. If you support Palestine and you support the right of Palestine to defend itself, well, are you supporting terrorism? Are you enabling terrorism? There's that narrative, right? And then there's the narrative coming from like the APAC wing of folks, right, that are understanding that more people in this country, I guess, suppose in the West, let's say in America, because everybody else seems to have a better grasp of the situation than people in this country. And that is intentional, by the way. For my international viewers, let me assure you, nothing is taught to American children for generations about the history of Palestine and how an Israeli state was formed. It's been reported about in the news for generations, but it's been reported to an audience of ignorance. People like myself who have very general, small understanding of the origins of this, why this continues to happen, etc. But like I told y'all, I became woke about Palestine maybe about 10, 15 years ago. And nigga, I don't have to recite the history. I recognize apartheid very plainly when I see it, and that shit needs to end, period, point blank. However, with that, people are having more questions, I think, about Zionism and the role that Zionism is playing in all of this, right? Because it's being framed in the news as a holy war between Jews and Muslims, and the Palestinians and Hamas don't want the Jewish people to even exist. They want to blow Jews off the face of the earth. I don't think that's true. And you notice I say propaganda, but it could be, but the propaganda I've seen on a lot of mainstream coverage about this talks about the Hamas charter, where paraphrasing a lot of reporters here, where the Hamas charter basically says that, Jewish people need to be removed from the face of the earth. I'm like, how come nobody will read me the line? How come no one can run us that quote? What paragraph is it in? What sentence? What article? Again, it's just propaganda that continues to be repeated. It never gets challenged. It never gets questioned. And there's never a substantive answer for it. These things are reported to us, and we are supposed to accept them, digest them as fact without even questioning it. Okay, so let's get to Zionism. So the president of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Goldblatt, a character I don't really like this guy. I don't like this guy. Years ago, the ADL, I remember this. Maybe about 10 or so years ago, there had been some atrocities committed against the Palestinian people by the Israelis. And football player Reggie Bush at the time tweeted about supporting Palestine. And the ADL condemned him on Twitter. And I thought that was very strange. Regardless. The ADL is an organization I don't necessarily trust. I don't like their politics. And the fact that they are pro-Zionist, I think, is a major reason why I don't like their politics. But I want you guys to listen to Jonathan Goldblatt give an explanation. I believe this was on CNN, about the difference between, in his opinion, between being anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic. And I just want y'all to listen to what he has to say. So let's take a look at that.
Then, Jonathan, between being anti-Israel and being anti-Jewish?
Well, look, I think you can certainly be a critic of Israel. You can say, I don't like these policies.
Or are they being conflated, I guess, is really
the question. I think you can criticize Israel. I've criticized policy of the Israeli government. I'm not anti-Israel. But I think where we draw the line is being anti-Zionist. Okay. What I mean by that is this ideology that says, I oppose the existence of the Jewish state. I oppose the legitimacy of Jews having the right to self-determination. I oppose the whole notion that Jewish people should be able to live in their ancestral homeland. That is an ideology which is now common on college campuses. It's common in some corridors of power. We have people in Congress like Rashida Tlaib who professes this idea. And then, by the way, it's common in some newsrooms. We see this with the copy editors and some other people making decisions. But anti-Zionism, I've long said, is anti-Semitism. I was wrong. Anti-Zionism is genocide. And what I mean is, if you so dehumanize Zionists, by the way, every Jewish person is a Zionist. You might not believe in the political project of the state of Israel, but every Saturday morning, like for me yesterday, you open your prayer book and it talks about Zion. It talks about Jerusalem. Jews have been praying to Jerusalem for 2,000 years. 2,000 years. But here's the point. Zionism is whether you're a religious Jew going to synagogue every day, or you're just a cultural Jew who even thinks of themselves as an atheist. Zionism is embedded in our tradition. It's fundamental to our existence. And so for the anti-Zionist, who says all Zionists are evil, all Zionists are bad, the Zionist project is wrong, that leaves us in a very weird position.
It leaves us in a weird position because we are not defining things for what they are. Because number one, the conflation that Jonathan Greenblatt, yes, makes about all Jews being Zionists because they open up their religious texts and they go to synagogue. That sounds like devout, right? That sounds like somebody that's practicing their religion. Zionism is a political and national movement to recreate or to create a Jewish homeland in the Middle East and to sustain it, right? From the last show that we did here, where we heard from Orthodox Jewish people who were in the streets and supporting the Palestinian people, they reinforced to us, especially to us non-Jews, right? Like, I've never read the Torah. I don't know what the Torah says, but I suppose would be more inclined to believe an Orthodox practicing Jewish person about what the Torah said than someone who's, this mainstream liberal like Jonathan Greenblatt, who again stands with Israel and what Israel is doing and has been doing to the Palestinian people. And for him to say that anti-Zionism is genocide is deeply inflammatory, and it is meant to target and to malign people that are in support of a Palestinian state, and for the Palestinian people to be able to live without being under occupation, without being under a blockade, for these people to have freedom of movement, and for them to enjoy basic human rights, right? Like, I don't think these are tough arguments to make. But I wanted to point out an action that was held here in Washington, D.C. over the weekend, very well attended. And it was put on by an organization of American Jewish folks called ifnotnow.org, right? And these are Jewish folks in this country who support the right to a free Palestine. And I don't know how well covered, if at all, this protest was in mainstream media circles. I'll come back and tell you how it was covered locally. But I want us to listen to a montage of clips. Now, the first clip actually is not from DC. It is a scene from Dearborn, Michigan. If you guys know the Detroit area, Detroit is home to a large Palestinian community. And they came out over the weekend in support of, obviously, the folks in the homeland who are suffering and facing a dire humanitarian crisis and who are under the threat of genocide, active threat of genocide right now. So that's the first clip. The first clip is from Dearborn, but the subsequent clips are actually going to be here from DC. And our friend of the show, Chuck Modiano, was on the scene per usual. Chuck got some amazing footage of the, I'm gonna call them the radical left Jews, because in America, if you stand in opposition of the state of Israel and you yourself are a Jewish person, I consider that left and radical to me. So I want us to amplify these folks that are out here using their voices. They are not letting their grief, and by, let's be clear here, and this is going to be made explicit in some of these videos, that, you know, some of these people that came out to protest at the White House themselves lost family and loved ones in the Hamas response from 2 Saturdays ago, right? But they said that they are not going to let their grief be an excuse to allow genocide to occur in their name. I mean, poignant words we are about to hear here from the folks that attended that rally. So anyway, let's take a look at these clips, everybody. It's a few minutes, but it's compelling. So I want y'all to pay attention. Let's check this out.
And that we will not allow genocide against Palestinians to be justified by Jewish grief. We have been here demanding that Joe Biden puts pressure on the Israeli government for ceasefire now! 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 Palestine! Free, free 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 Palestine! Not in our name! Not in our name! Not in our name! Not in our name! Not in our name!
I'm here because I want to assert that anti-Zionism is a family value in many Jewish communities, and that we have a responsibility to show up not just for oppressed people globally, but specifically for Palestinians, and in our work at Tikkun Olam, which is healing. That's something that I've been taught will always include Palestine and the Palestinians, and ensuring that they have a right to thrive in their homeland.
Your sign says you're a third generation anti-Zionist Jew. If I were to turn on my news channels, I would not think anti-Zionist Jews even exist. So what do people need to know?
What people need to know is that we've been out here, that my great uncle Irving Weinman drove in the Road to Hope convoy to Gaza in his 70s. May his memory be for a blessing. That there are so many elders who look around these protests that it's not just young people who are, quote unquote, as some Zionists say, too young to remember. We know, we've read the history, our families have taught us the history, and we assert that Palestine should be free.
For all the Palestinians living under apartheid! For all the Palestinians living under apartheid! Please! We as Jews implore you! We as Jews implore you! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Our Judaism brought us here. Not only our core Jewish values, our core teachings of B'Tselem Elohim, that every single human being is made in the image of God. Not only that, also our history, the rhetoric that we see coming from the Israeli government right now is genocidal. Make no mistake, as Jews, we recognize it. And as Jews, we know that that means that through our grief, we have to speak up. We have to speak up because we know we're saying things like human animals. As you talk about bombing an entire people, we know where that leads.
Incredible scenes there from the White House over the weekend. Shout out to Chuck Modiano. Shout out to If Not Now. When which is, hold on, let me get this right. Ifnotnow.org. It describes themselves as American Jews organizing for community to end the US support for Israel's apartheid system and demand equality, justice, and a thriving future for all. So shout out to those good folks that came out, like I said, in very good numbers over the weekend. And the way that I saw this covered locally on News Channel 4, on NBC4, NBC Washington here, they mentioned that this rally was happening, but they didn't mention that it was a Jewish-led organization in support of a ceasefire and in support of a free Palestine. Like that was omitted completely from the local package that I saw. And that is intentional, everybody. There is a narrative that everybody needs to get in line with, okay? Like, and it is to get in line. The U.S., America as a state, as Joe Biden has repeated, stands unequivocally with the state of Israel. But that's to assume that everybody in America is rocking with that. And we know that, like us, people who are of our, political stripes, obviously do not stand with any apartheid state based in white supremacy and imperialism and colonization and all that shit. We ain't for none of that, right? But they want us to make sure that if you're not towing the line of 100% Israeli solidarity, you support terrorism, you're an anti-Semite, and you want the Jews wiped off the face of the planet, which I don't think any of those people that were out there on Saturday want any of those things. I don't want those things. You don't want those things. I want a free Palestine. Let's start there. Let me tell you what Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, has been tweeting up a storm. I don't have the tweet. Well, I just wanted to read this one thing. One of the tweets Netanyahu put out yesterday, the 16th, he said, "This is a struggle between the children of light and the children of darkness, between humanity and the law of the jungle." And this is the kind of dehumanizing rhetoric that some of the speakers from the clips that we just saw there were speaking about. Um, to say that Palestinians are the children of darkness and that they obey the law of the jungle is rhetoric that a lot of oppressed people are accustomed to and has been used against oppressed people historically over generations to justify violence against them and to justify their extermination. Make no mistake about it, Israel intends to exterminate every single Palestinian that they're able to. They don't care about civilians, they don't care about children. They don't care, they don't care, they don't care. And I didn't include it today, but maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow on the morning show. One thing, and I think actually Jackie even mentioned it, Lucretia. Help me if I remember this right. But a lot of the stories about the so-called atrocities committed by Hamas are being debunked, having to be walked back. These false stories in Western media about children, Israeli children being beheaded by Hamas, about women being raped. There has not been any substantive evidence to prove that any of these attacks has happened as they have been reported. It is all about trying to gin up anti-Palestinian propaganda again to justify the massive use of force that has already been enacted against them, but will continue to be ratcheted up and made worse once this ground invasion is authorized. Oh, and by the way, y'all's boy, President Joe Biden, this is from Reuters, as of this hour, says President Joe Biden will visit Israel on Wednesday to show support for its war on Hamas, while also pressing for ways to ease the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the trip's itinerary has been upended after a blast at a Gaza hospital killed hundreds. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe Biden. So you, who was vice president during the Obama administration, when the Obama administration inked a 10-year military support deal with Israel, $38 billion if memory serves. $3.8 billion to be paid from the United States to Israel with U.S. taxpayer dollars for a 10-year period to continue to show our support for Israel. Well, basically, that shows our support for a Palestinian genocide, right? And it seems as though Joe Biden wants to go to Israel on the precipice of the IDF ground invasion into Palestine to make sure that $3.8 billion in military aid is being put to good use. I mean, got to make sure them bombs is exploding at the schools and at the hospital like they supposed to, per America. That is some callous, cold shit for Biden to go and stand shoulder to shoulder with Netanyahu while hospitals in Gaza are being bombed. We got some super chats. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you. KJ Sakuna coming true with the super chat. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. It says, Peace Kim in the chat. You said, my Palestine people keep fighting for their liberation. The state of Israel funds the cops all day. The cops right here in the U.S. The cops that oppress us too. So I damn sure ain't taking their side. No, absolutely not. No, both sides on genocide either. Thank you so much, KJ. I appreciate that. 100%. No, I mean, Cop City, dog. Cop City, they trying to do Palestine. They're trying to make Gaza City Cop City. My nigga, what's going on? Thank you so much, Lorraine, Mama Lorraine Hart, for your super chat support from Anna and Mom XOXOXO. Thank you so much, Mama Lorraine, for your support. Hold on, didn't somebody else run us some support? Was it Franny Francais? Sure was. Thank you, Franny. Donnie, thank you for your Cash App support, Donnie, too. Franny France says, glad for this safe for Jesus, I can't read. Glad for this safe place where we can set oppression ablaze. Thank you so much, Franny. I appreciate that. No, guys, like, listen, at minimum, and sometimes all we can do is the bare minimum. And I think literally the bare minimum in this situation for us, ocean away, who does not support the actions of our government and our military, in this situation, all we can do is speak the truth, y'all. All we could do is call out the shit for what it is. And especially real quick to people who identify as Black Christian, especially if you're churchy. I mean, and by churchy, I mean you go to church, right? If you're a Black Christian, I need you to be on heightened awareness when it comes to the pro-Zionist propaganda, right? Because the Christian faith is lining up with, Jesus is coming back to Jerusalem. But the gag is the Jews don't believe that. the Jews say you can keep your white Jesus. You can keep him. Jesus is, oh, well, let me hush. Let me not blaspheme out here. But my point is, because I don't go to church, so I don't know how this is being spun in the Black church, though I would be very interested to know how Black pastors are spinning this. Like, you're gonna Black pastors, that is, Black Christian pastors, like, are you gonna spin a sermon that's gonna stand on the side of the colonizer in the Holy Land? What's this sounding like in Black church? And I know some of y'all go to church, so don't lie. But not you be in church. Quit faking. Lucretia, you be in church. Stop lying. What's this playing like in the Black church, everybody? Are Black pastors confused, or are they just saying we're just gonna pray for both sides and pray that the Lord stops this violence in the Holy Land? Praise Jesus. We're going to pray for our Israeli brothers and sisters who sponsored our church trip to the Wailing Wall two Easters ago. Oh, Jesus, please. My point is, don't let your people fall for the hype. Tell them, don't believe the hype. Say, we rocking with the oppressed people. We rocking with the people that are on the receiving end of the apartheid state. We are not rocking with the occupiers. Please, let's be just very clear when we are talking to our folks about this. And if you're getting any shit from your Black Christian friends and family, point them to the Orthodox Jews that is speaking out against the actions of Israel and speaking out in favor and support of the Palestinian people. Like, if they don't gotta believe me and you, right? Believe the niggas with the long beards. believe the niggas in the yarmulkes and the ringlets and shit. If you ain't gotta believe me, believe them, because they know that Torah frontwards and backwards, and y'all and the rest of y'all non-Jews, myself included, don't know it at all. So we're gonna stick with the people that read the Torah, not the Jonathan Greenblatts of the world, because that motherfucker's got an agenda. Okay, and it is in lockstep with Palestinian extermination along with the whims and the wills of the Israeli state. All right, let me take a tiny bit of a break here. Thank you all so much for rocking with your homie out here. Who are these people? I hope we don't have no trolls. Listen, I ain't the one. Let us be very clear. Let's be very clear, because I mean, you can call me all kinds of names, anybody really, and that shit don't stick to me, because I know who I is and I know who I ain't. And again, this probably don't sound all that great, but it's the truth. I don't have any particular animus towards any group of whites. Y'all know, I look at the whites as the whites. all of them together. And I understand Jewish Americans have a bit of a distinctive history, I suppose, from the rest of the American whites. I get that, no doubt. But I don't have any animus towards any specific group of white people. I abhor anybody that upholds white supremacy, and that's any fucking body. That's white, Black, Southeast Asian, Latino, that's everybody. If you uphold white supremacy, I don't give a fuck who you are. You can seg it. So anyway, I'm not I'm not too worried about being labeled as an anti-Semite because I know who I'm is and I know who I'm ain't. So anyway, there's that. Hit the like on the video, please. Hit the subscription on the video, please. What's up, Dell? Do other things to the video. Like, share, subscribe. We about 25, I think, subscribers away from 4K, which we might get there before the channel anniversary, which is, I don't fucking know, this month maybe, or in the next month, one of these months, sometime this season. So help us get to 4K one of these days. We certainly appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. So let me go on and get into what I'm doing here. Because you guys know this is a channel of which I follow several beats, and domestic violence is one of those beats. Violence against women, gender-based violence, one of those beats that I follow, right? Why do I follow this beat? Well, because I am a survivor of domestic violence. And the wild thing is, you come to discover that there's a lot of people who are survivors of domestic violence. And to be clear, people of all genders and all gender identities can be victims of domestic violence, right? And the problem is we don't have the safety nets in place in our society in which people who are, number one, victims of domestic violence can get access to resources in a timely manner, right? It's starting to get better, but it's not 100%. And the other side of that is that I don't think there's a lot of help available for those who are the perpetrators of domestic violence. Like, the help is jail, right? Or it's anger management, or some sort of court diversion, sentencing, or they don't get help at all. And they continue to terrorize numerous people throughout their life, which I think is really unfortunate because, I don't really have a lot of sympathy or compassion for sexual abusers and people who commit domestic violence. But maybe I'm starting to get soft in my old age. Like, I want the harmful people to get some help on the days that I don't want them pushed off a cliff, which is actually most days. I would prefer that they get pushed off a cliff. But oh Jesus, the moon must be in a weird phase right now. That solar eclipse must have did something. I'm having a little bit of empathy. I don't like it. I don't like having the empathy for the fuck boys and girls of the world. But anyway, so Will, if you could please pop up that CNN piece for me. Let's pop up the CNN article because this was something I hadn't thought about until I saw a recent story on my local news. And that a number of states, and this piece is actually from 2020, and it started to detail a trend across some state lawmakers in places across the country that were really starting to take a serious re-examination of the criminal penalties and the criminal categorization of strangulation, specifically as it pertains to domestic violence. So strangulation is choking or the intentional suffocation of somebody, literally trying to deny another person air, is strangulation. And you'd be surprised, y'all, in a lot of places in America, strangulation still is prosecuted or categorized as a misdemeanor. In 2020, a number of states tried to change that. Washington, D.C., Ohio, and my state of Maryland. And I thought that this was actually a good thing, something that state lawmakers did that might benefit the people or the survivors. You hear me? I'm incredulous in my tone because, I don't believe that government can solve a lot of things. But when it comes to some of the long-standing ills in our society, such as domestic violence, I think it's important that lawmakers have the laws reflect the seriousness of the crime, right? And as we're talking about crime and the rise in crime, no, No, domestic violence is a fucking crime. Like that is crime. Like niggas and people who commit these acts against their partners or even against children, right? Children too can be survivors and victims of domestic violence. Something needs to be done with these motherfuckers. And in the state of Maryland, the penalties have increased. In fact, Maryland went from making strangulation, it was prior to 2020 simply a misdemeanor. Now is a felony. And there was a story that was on the local news. Well, if you could get that News 4 story queued up. Y'all know I use a lot of News 4 stories because I they are my source um of media critique. Like I study them. I've been a long time viewer of NBC4 Washington. I've seen the quality of their storytelling and their overall reporting really go down over about the past 10 or so years. So anyway, I like to pick on them, but I still watch. So I'm a faithful viewer. So call that what you will. Am I a hater? Possibly. Possibly. But this particular reporter, I really like the work that they do. Her name is Darcy Spencer. I'm gonna give Darcy Spencer overall a B plus as a local reporter. Darcy Spencer is Jane on the spot. And she took this story about a domestic abuse survivor who almost lost their life in Prince George's County to their abuser. And now there has been a sentence given in this case where this woman's partner almost killed her down at the damn National Harbor at the Gaylord Hotel at a nice place, right? Nice place. Domestic violence can happen anywhere, in the home, in public, at the casino, hotel. And I want us to take a look at this piece. This is from NBC4 Washington. Darcy Spencer's reporting. Let's take a look.
Farley says she was in an abusive relationship for years with the father of their young son. But it's what happened here in a room at the Gaylord Hotel at National Harbor last December that gave her the strength to leave for good. She says she lost consciousness while Bruce Godfrey strangled her in that room.
I was 4 seconds away from dying in front of my child.
According to charging documents, Godfrey had abused her for hours, took her phone, and held her and her son against their will. Little boy begged him not to kill his mother.
He locked the door, told her that he was going to kill her and that he was going to be the only one coming out alive from that room.
But when Godfrey fell asleep, she was able to alert hotel staff, who then called police. Here is some of that call made to Prince George's 911.
She don't want nobody to knock on the door. She just wants them to come in.
Officers rescued Farley and her son. She documented her injuries with these photos. Prosecutors say she had broken blood vessels in her eyes, scratches and bruising on her throat and body.
A victim of strangulation is 7 to 8 times more likely to end up being a victim of homicide.
Prosecutors charged Godfrey with strangulation. They secured a conviction, and on Thursday he was sentenced to serve 16 years behind bars. In 2020, a new law went into effect here in Maryland, making strangulation a felony instead of a misdemeanor.
That their abusers are given stiff and tough penalties, and that they are put away for a very long time.
Farley says a weight has been lifted from her shoulders.
I did not want to raise a child in domestic violence. I did not want my son to hurt anybody when he got older. I wanted my kid to be a happy, vibrant child, and I was ruining it for him by bringing him back into this situation.
Farley is now looking forward to her future. She's earning her bachelor's degree, gaining financial stability, and starting a new job. In Largo, Darcy Spencer, News 4.
Farley is pushing for a national database of domestic violence abusers that could be accessed for free, similar to a sex offender registry.
That is interesting. Well, hold on, a couple of things there. First of all, for the survivor there, Jessica Farley, for her to say towards the end that she did not want her son to grow up and hurt somebody, that is a heater of a statement, because that is the reality for a lot of people who are perpetrators of domestic violence. It is something that they witnessed and they experienced as children in their formidable years. They saw violence in the home, so they perpetuate and continue to repeat that same violence when they become of age, and then they find themselves in relationships, and they don't have the skills to resolve conflicts or to de-escalate or whatever, so they revert back to their default settings, what they saw growing up. So I commend her for being aware, first of all, potentially of the patterns that could be repeated if she survived and decided to remain in that relationship with her abusive former partner. So there's that. The idea about the database I thought is kind of interesting, and that's really the only place that I've heard that. Have you guys ever heard that before? Maybe you have to find Jessica Farley and see where she's talking about this idea. I think that is a brilliant idea. I think domestic abusers should be cataloged, and you should be able to access publicly whether or not a person. I'm supposing in the interest of fairness, like maybe we would have to do convictions, but also knowing how fucked up the system is and how a lot of times domestic abusers go free in spite of evidence or whatever, credible accounts, maybe just the simple charging, or I don't know. I don't think it should be as some I don't think someone should make a domestic abuser database based simply off an accusation. Like there has to be some sort of legal paperwork, or something formal has to have occurred in the interest of fairness, because I can understand that, yeah, some people would be mistakenly put on such a list because of, there are false allegations out there. It's not the overwhelming majority of domestic violence reports, but it happens, right? So anyway, but I agree and support the idea, because I think that sex offender databases are very helpful. I think it serves a public interest. This is information that the public is entitled to know. And I think domestic abusers should be cataloged and have a publicly accessible database in a similar way. Because for those who have survived, these kinds of relationships, that those people, the abusers, are extremely manipulative. They are quite convincing. They're quite charming. I mean, that is the nature of their, psychopathy or sociopathy, whatever it is. They're supposed to present well. Like they're not so like a good domestic abuser. Like he's not coming off as a domestic abuser. He's coming off as the greatest nigga ever, right? Until right until but I think that would be valuable to the dating population to know who is who has been accused of what, who was convicted of what. And this goes for, women who are accused and convicted of domestic abuse also. 16 years. Mr. Godfrey will be behind bars. Well, maybe, because in the state of Maryland, as we have done here on previous stories, you can earn good credits in the state of Maryland. Is especially if you beat bitches, right? You can work your way out of out of an attempted murder sentence. You can work your way out of a strangulation in the state of Maryland if you decide to, participate in that prison labor force. They'll give you some good credits. They'll give all the domestic abusers and rapists, they'll give them niggas some time served and shit, because that's what the fuck system we live in. Jesus fucking capitalism will let abusers work off their sentence so they can get out of jail sooner. Ain't this a bitch? But hold on, back to my story. So Maryland did this. Ohio did this, meaning made strangulation a felony. I believe strangulation is a felony in North Carolina. I think strangulation is a felony in South Carolina. No, I might have that wrong. I think it's just North Carolina. Indiana, there's a number of states that have started to take this more seriously. And we're going to have to, everybody, because I think that domestic violence is a societal scourge that can actually be remedied. Yes, I understand. We all came up under capitalism, white supremacy, misogyny. I get all that. But if the women, if the women, if If women who have been raised under these same oppressive conditions manage not to beat these niggas half to fucking death, manage not to rape them at the same levels, I think, I think we can somehow instruct the men and the boys to not engage in this behavior, but it starts early and they need to know that there are consequences such as these. Now we know that longer prison sentences, even capital punishment, often are not deterrents to crime, especially to violent crime. But this is different, in my opinion. Domestic violence is different than robbery. It's even a little different than homicide, right? Like some crimes, like robbery and burglary, all them shits. I mean, those shits are crimes of means of urgency. Sometimes people rob and burglarize because they need to eat, right? Domestic violence is not it's not that. It's a lack of interpersonal relations that exclude violence, right? And I think we can teach children, people in our society, how to engage with one another without resorting to violence, right? But it's something that I think has to start early. And the markers, in the same way, one of the people that we saw in that piece was the Prince George's County State's Attorney. Her name is Aisha Braveboy. Aisha Braveboy and her predecessor, who's the county executive now, Angela Alsobrooks, who used to be the state's attorney, both of them in their platforms when they were running for that office made it clear that they were going to focus on domestic abusers and make examples out of them. And to the extent that, prosecutors' job wholly is to put people in jail, which we don't want, but in the interim, I don't know where to put the abusers, put the niggas in jail until we figure this shit out. That is part of their political platform, I'll say, that I agree with. Because and if we're not training people, children and people, adults, how not to harm and kill with their hands, unfortunately we have to put those people away from the rest of us, because we know that behavior is it is repeated. It's a pattern. Most domestic abusers don't just beat the one person. They usually that's how they be in relationship. They beat their partners, plural, right? So until we get a hold of that, I think we do have to put the abusers in jail. Okay, we got to put the abusers in jail. But for lawmakers to make sure that crimes as egregious. Oh, I'm sorry. No, the point that I was trying to make. Aisha Braveboy in the piece said that survivors, or pardon me, victims of strangulation are 7 times more likely to die as a result of a homicide. Okay, if we are able to pinpoint statistics as clear as that, there are definitely personality and behavior markers that can be identified in kids and young people, young adults, that denote a propensity towards being physically violent, right? And I think it's important that we get a hold of them and not to punish them punitively while they're young, but to get a hold of them and make sure that they get access to services, mental health services, interpersonal, relationship services, instruction in that direction, so they don't grow up to become these violent, harmful people that traumatize numerous people over and over again. I think that's possible, guys. But the problem is, we're not going to get to such a sophisticated healthcare system, mental health care system on top of that, while we're funding the Israeli military to the tune of $3.8 billion a year. Okay? Because with all the money we send into Israel, we could set up all kinds of beneficial programs that would help everybody in this country, right? For America to be a less violent place, maybe. For our intimate partner relationships to not be so fraught with violence, and for there not to be so many people who have experienced domestic violence. and sexual violence, but domestic violence for the purposes of this. So I wanted to just bring y'all that story. I appreciate the state of Maryland and other states that have taken policy actions to make certain that domestic abusers at least get stiffer sentences. To the extent that they're going to be sitting in jail longer, I can't really say. Because again, like I said, state of Maryland will let out a murderer. they will let out the rapist and the attempted murderer or for good behavior, right? So I can't say this man is going to do the whole 16 in jail. He might be able to work his way out of it. But at least something is what? Better than nothing. So there's that. I'm going to get out of here. Hold on. I think somebody ran us some more bucks. Thank you all so much for the support, everybody. Has it been 3 years? Is it 3? Yeah, I think we're coming up on our 3rd year anniversary. Do you know what today is? It's well, it's not today. So wait a minute. Let me not get everybody excited. It's definitely not today. My bad. Come on, get this off of here so I can read the thing. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I certainly appreciate it. Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay. This came from Oh. Stop. Sorry. Hold on. Cuz I have the stupid I have the stupid chat up. I'm sorry, y'all are not stupid. But I'm trying to read the comment and I can't. I'm trying to make it bigger and it's not permitting me. It's not giving me permission to do so. So I'm very, very sad and disappointed in myself right now because I'm failing on live television. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, here we go. Hey, Arlene. Arlene, thank you so much for your super chat support. Arlene said, Kim, I was mad when one of the elders started praying for Israel. Girl, I told him that we need to pray for Palestine. Girl, and Arlene, thank you so much for your super chat and thank you for that. And listen, I'm telling you, I am concerned that specifically our churchy elders, I'm talking to black people here. Maybe white people might experience this shit too, but I don't know what white people experience. But I mean, but black people, some of our churchy elders is going to fall for the okie doke. Our churchy elders are going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. They're going to say, "Oh, we stand with the." Listen, man, this ain't. We can rock with Jewish people, no doubt. We don't rock with colonizers. And if the Israelis happen to be colonizers, then we don't rock with them niggas. Them's just the rules. Old churchy elders. And maybe, use what Kamal Franklin gave as an example. A good analogy last week. The elders understand when the Europeans came over and stole the lands and genocided the Native Americans here, right? It's the same shit. It's the same shit. Except it's happened in front of us all, right? It's happened for generations now. And I'm telling you, our elders, anyway, pray for the elders, shit. Because, I mean, we are all, as our good sistren and brethren on BPM say, we are all deeply colonized people. We are deeply colonized and deeply propagandized. And that is, again, one of the missives of this program in particular. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all, I'm not an organizer. I'm not a leader. I don't do none of that shit. But what I can do is be a propaganda machine for righteousness and be a propaganda arm on behalf of the issues and the positions of these issues that we agree with, that you all must agree with, or else y'all would not be here and you would not be at Black Power Media either. So it's on us. We got to free the minds. We got to talk to our folks. That's what I view the purpose of Burning Down with Kim Brown is. Like, we have got to give a counter narrative to the mainstream Western capitalist, white supremacist, misogynist, anti-Black, Islamophobic, like all that shit. trans and homophobic. We have to give counter narratives and counter perspectives to all of that shit. That is our job. And I'm so very proud of you for the ones, you know, when I have the mental capacity to check messages, which is not often, by the way, which I'm sure you all know. But when I do have the mental capacity to check messages, sometimes you all will send me messages and tell me like, hey, you know, I was talking to my neighbor, or I was talking to my coworker, or I was talking to my, you know, my best friend, and I, you know, brought up the way that we all see this particular issue that had not occurred to this person. And y'all tell me that y'all are making people think, you know what I'm saying? And which is dope. That's all we can do is free the minds one at a time, y'all. Cause I'm sorry, I know y'all got children out here. I don't want y'all kids to grow up in this shit. Okay. So we got to make the folks aware of the nonsense and disavow them of it. Make them put that shit down. Make them put it away. Make them apply some critical thought to some shit. Make them do some Google searches. Make them pick up a book. Like, make them have an alternate perspective to what is being spoon fed to us nightly on the news broadcast, local and national, right? What's being fed to us from the West Wing, from the White House, from the State Department, from the Pentagon. Like, America is not a good actor in any fucking thing, okay? America is not good abroad. America is not good to its own citizens. So we have to make sure and implore our people, hey, we got to stop giving America the benefit of the doubt all the time. And for these misleadership ass people, and especially some of the misleadership ass Negroes, you know, who openly question how can y'all radicals and y'all leftists be advocating for the fall of America? Because America supports genocide, numerous genocides, right? How could you, neoliberal, bougie Negro, how could you want the state to continue as it is? It's oppressing and killing us here in our homeland, and it's oppressing and killing millions and enabling the genocide of the Palestinians, of the Iraqi people, of the people in Yemen, of indigenous people other places. Why is this a colony experiment that you want to survive, that you want to continue to live and thrive and be a dominant world power? Shame on you. Shame on you for wanting a colony to continue to thrive and exist. Shame the fuck on you, you bougie misleadership ass knuckles. That's for you, Reverend Sharpton. That's for you, Reverend Sharpton, and others. So anyway, I'm gone. Thank you all so much. Big up, Ignoralia. Damn it, you gonna tell me how to pronounce your name one of these months, because you know I can't pronounce. You know how long it took me to figure out Chichi Macha? It took me a long time. Them syllables that is not easily recognizable to my colonized brain. You know how long it took me to figure that shit out? Ignoralia, help me out. Give me a phonetic pronouncer. Help me out. Thank you, Franny France. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Donnie. Chichi Macha. Look, it wasn't until Jackie said Chichi Macha. Oh, yes, that does say Chichi Macha, doesn't it? Yep, sure does. So yes. Y'all, I'm colonized. I need y'all to help me and be nice to me and hold my hand and shit and be patient. I'm trying to free my mind, hoping that my ass will follow. Thank you so much to Latif. What's up, Swerra Furry? Good to see you in here, babe. Like I said, my good girl Donnie, Wendy, Holly, Yippa99, John Kemper in the building, Lucretia in the building. Who is this person? Hold on, because y'all know how it is. I don't always be welcoming new viewers and shit. I'm as standoffish online as I am in real life. Piscean Beauty, thank you so much for your support here. Sakira, thank you so much, Sakira, for coming through, y'all. I have to be remembering to shout out our new people because y'all, I told you I'm not friendly. So anyway, y'all have a good rest of your evening. Don't believe the hype, but subscribe to Burn It Down with Kim Brown. You can support us materially, BIDWKB. BIDWKB. That's us on Cash App, Venmo, paypal.me/BIDWKB, or patreon.com/BIDWKB. Please tune in and subscribe to the Remix Morning Show on Black Power Media, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern. And I will see y'all back here on Friday. Thank you so much to Will and Molly for what they do to contribute to the channel. And we'll see y'all back here at the end of the week. See y'all later. Bye-bye. Doodles. Doodles. Doodles.